Welcome to take 2 of the 80% inbounds challenge mode tutorial for Environmental Station Alpha. My name is Jazzy. I currently hold the world record for this category as of making this tutorial. There's a couple things before we even get into the game that you might want to check in your settings. I do strongly recommend playing this on keyboard. Especially because of teleported storage being a thing now. I feel like doing the sort of frame perfect inputs is a lot easier on keyboard than it is on controller. However, there are a few people that do run this on controller that I know of. At least I know Josh runs it on controller, and he has the record for the regular 80% route, and he does it on controller. The next thing, you do want to turn on jump hold because of teleporter storage, and there's one very specific instance of it where you can get rid of storage by shooting. However, if you're in water and you hold down your jump button and you shoot, it does not get rid of it, so that's what that's for. It's not absolutely necessary. You can get away without jump hold, however, it makes things just infinitely easier. So I do recommend using it. If you don't go for teleporter storage, if you're like just starting out and just want to learn the basic mechanics of the game, then you don't need it. But you might still want to get used to it if you want to ever go for like sort of better times and better strats. My personal keybinds for this are right here. Movement is on WASD. Then shoot is left arrow, jump is right arrow, hookshot is up arrow, and the dashes are on down arrow. Map is on M and use is on W, same as up, which is just the default key for that. And when we talk about challenge mode, we talk about the old challenge mode, which is the 2 dashes and 10 health. Not the new one that was implemented a while ago that has you start off with 1 health and just the heat resist suit. And the way you trigger the old one is you just simply go on this screen and you hold down your left key. And after a while it'll throw you into the game. So, first off, challenge mode, right, you have both dashes. You can zoom around like this. There's a couple very important movement things that you should be aware of. Number 1, hitting ground resets your dashes, right? So if I were to jump, I can't dash again until I hit the ground. However, if I jump off a ledge, or dash off a ledge like this, I can get a second dash in. And because we in the community like stupid names, that's called the Mario Kart, because of double dash, aka Mario Kart. Herp. And with dashes, especially if you have auto jump on, it's a lot easier to do this. You can hold your jump key during your dashes, which gives you a free jump. And after that free jump, you can also perform a double jump or a dash. And when you do the whole combo with the double jump and the double dash, that's called a Super Mario Kart, because again, we like silly names, because we're silly people. But in the challenge mode run, those are used a lot. So you have to get rid of these, or have to get used to these types of movements. And you can dash both ways too, so if you can do like one horizontal and one vertical if you want to, or if the situation calls for it. Now, I'm not really going to go into like specifics of movements for rooms, because I don't really feel like that's necessary. There's not like very many intricate parts. If there are, I'm going to go through them more in depth, but just for like general movement in rooms, like you can just like mimic what I do or figure out your own routes. Now, first boss here spawns when you skip this text box, and it's very self-explanatory in challenge mode run. All you need to really do is just dash through him a couple of times and add a shot there just to add that little extra bit of damage, but that's all it is. Just dash through him a couple of times and shoot when you can. And then you can't spare the APM when you get used to the inputs. And of course, just for like a tiny bit of optimization, you can do a vertical dash during the death animation to get up here just a little bit faster. In the normal any percent route, it would go left here, but because we have both the dashes, we don't need to go there ever. So we can just start going right here. That is the first instance of a double or a Super Mario Kart right there. You do the dash and the jump and a dash to get over here. First upgrade, you get double jump. It's just really for mobility's sake. It isn't absolutely required in the route, but it makes things easier and it's just fast and gives you the mobility. And it's pretty much in your way anyway, so there's no real reason not to get it. The worms that come out of these holes in this room, they're sort of random where they're spawning, so you might get hit by some of them every once in a while. There's really nothing you can do about that. Now, because this is a really simple room, it's a pretty good space to demonstrate that you can actually store dashes through loading screens. And it's just really simple to do. All you need to do is when you're in a loading screen, you press dash and you'll jump there. You'll dash automatically when you get to the next screen. So right there. If you pay attention to my input display that's on stream, did it too early there, but there. You can store dashes and that just makes you dash immediately when the load finishes and gets you a little faster. And now, there's two routes here, coming from this section. There's the easier route, which is the old route, which still gets hookshot. And that's the one that I'm gonna show off first, just because it's a lot easier to showcase both routes in one video with this. But if you're doing newer strats, you would skip getting hookshot at this point and would get it later. So I'll sort of show how those those routes differ later on the video, but I'm gonna start off with the easier route, so we're gonna get hookshot first. So if you're just starting out running this game, I would recommend you do this route to begin with. Oops. Yeah, I tried to save it actually because of health. I don't have any... We're redoing it all again because I'm bad. I should be using saves more for this thing, just to be safe and get it over with, but we're redoing the entire thing. Hey! I'm good. Okay, so welcome everybody to a speedrun tutorial for 80% inbounds challenge mode for Environmental Station Alpha. My name's Jazzy. I currently have the world record for this category as of the making of this tutorial. Yeah, there's a couple things you want to take care of before you even get into the game. So in your settings, I do recommend you run this on keyboard. It isn't necessary. There's a couple people I know, Josh for example, who has the record for the regular any percent right now. I know he runs it on controller, but me personally, and then I feel like most people sort of agree that it is easier, especially now with teleporter storage, to do those sort of frame perfect inputs in a row. I feel like it is much easier on a keyboard, but if you're more comfortable with controller, then feel free to use it. It's completely viable. You do want to have jump hold on for the run. With teleporter storage, there's a few sections where you can accidentally get rid of storage that aren't like a thing at all if you have jump hold. For instance, in water, if you shoot when you're in water, it would get rid of, well, if you shoot at all, it would get rid of storage. But if you're in water and you're holding down your jump key with jump hold, you can shoot freely, so you keep storage. And I'll show you where that comes into play later. But if you're not using teleporter storage, like if you're just starting out, you don't really have to use jump hold. However, I do recommend you still always use it just to get used to the movement and the button inputs and whatever. My personal keybinds, if you don't feel like making your own and you want to follow mine, then here they are. Movement is on WASD, shoot is left arrow, jump is right arrow, hook shot is up arrow, dashes on down arrow, and then map, M, and U's on W. And this challenge mode that we run is the old one, which has 10 health and you have H dash and V dash to begin with. It's not the new one that was implemented a while ago that starts you with 1 health and just the heat resist suit. That isn't speedrun at all currently, because nobody's really that insane, because it's really, really hard. But the way you access the old one is you just hold left during this screen. And you just have to wait a second and it'll take you to the run, or the game. Now in challenge mode, like I said, you start off with both dashes, so mobility is pretty high, and the speed is also pretty high. You get to just zoom around everywhere. And the way dashes work is it resets when you hit ground. So if I were to jump and then dash, I can't dash again until I hit ground, as you can see. However, there's a couple tricks around this. So if I dash off a ledge right like this, I get another dash for free because I started on ground. And that's because we in this community are silly people and like silly names. Because that is a double dash, we call it a Mario Kart. That's just how it is, because we like silly names. So that's one way to speed up your movement. But also, especially with auto jump, it makes it a lot easier. You can do it without auto jump, but it's just infinitely easier because during your dashes, you can just hold your jump key, and it'll jump automatically when it can, like that. And once again, because you started your dash on ground, you can dash again. And this is what we call a Super Mario Kart, because we're original people. And it doesn't even have to be both horizontal. We can start, like, for instance, you can do this. And then also you can, when you have the double jump, you can chain that there as well. So you can do a dash, jump, for instance, without hitting ground. That's a total possibility. And now with that out of the way, oh, one more thing actually. You can actually store inputs through loading screens. like that, for instance. I can shoot when I go through a loading screen, but more importantly, you can store dash through a loading screen. So all you really have to do was, when you're in a loading screen, just hit your dash key again and it'll dash again. Like if you pay attention to my input display that's on the stream, my hand's nowhere near the dash key when I go, and it still dashes. And that's just a little optimization to get your movement started earlier when you go through screens. Now, just as a sort of general note, I'm not really going to go through the general movement through screens in this tutorial, because I don't really feel like that's necessary. You can just sort of mimic what I do, or just then make up your own routes and strats with whatever you're comfortable. But if there's anything like more intricate or something, then I'll go through that a little more deeply. So for the first boss here, spawns when you skip this text box, or when you deplete it, but obviously it's faster to skip it. It's really easy. In challenge mode, all you need to do is just keep dashing through it back and forth, and then, you know, if you want to add a little bit more damage, you can shoot as well when you dash, just for a little higher DPS. But all you need to do is just that. That's all there is to it. And just, again, for slight bit of optimization, during its death animation you can dash upwards and you get up here a little faster. As opposed to the regular 80% route, where you go left here, because we have all the dashes, you can just keep getting right instead, and just ignore that area completely. Crossing that water there is the first instance of the Mario Kart. You'll be seeing those quite a lot throughout the run. And as a general rule, it's not faster to keep dashing down when you're falling like that, but when you're first going through screens, and if there's like disappearing blocks like there was in that special room that I went through, the moment you start falling, you want to dash down, but after that you just fall naturally. So the first upgrade that you get in this run is the double jump, which is just really for mobility's sake. It's not absolutely necessary for the run, however, it's really not like out of your way to get it, and it makes things easier and faster. The worms in this room, they're random where they come out of, and they're random where they go. So sometimes when you do that movement, they might just take you no matter what you do, and you can't really do anything about it. And this is where the routes would differ. With teleporter storage, we came out with a new route for this run, which is significantly harder than the old one. So if you're just starting out and you want to learn the mechanics and you want to learn the route in the game, you want to do the old route, which gets hookshot here. With the new route, you would skip hookshot for now and instead go left when you go down into that section that splits off. But I'll show off both routes. I'll start off with the hookshot one just because it's sort of easier to showcase both routes that way. But I'll show off how the new route works as well. But we're gonna start off with the hookshot route. So right here is where you would go left if you want to do the new strats. And you just go up here to a scrapping unit. this screen right here is the reason why the route is significantly harder. But you don't really have to worry about it, and if you're doing the older route. Now, Based Puppet Master recently came up with new strats for this, and they're actually not very hard at all. So all you need to do is just get an extra hit there, dash through him, and get a shot in there, and then just stand here and then just keep dashing downwards. It's a little RNG with the head where it goes, but it works very well most of the time. And for the terminals, all you want to do is a little APM intensive at first, but shoot, dash, and that does enough damage to kill it. Normally, each terminal takes 5 shots to kill it, so you eliminate 1 shot with the dashes. And for the record, if you do the new route, you would have plasma field for this, so for that route, all you have to do is just dash twice through the terminals, and that's enough to kill them. And you wouldn't want to shoot anyway, because in that route you would have storage here. The first phase is the exact same. You dash once to get the extra damage in, and then you go up there to the corner, and keep dashing downwards, and because of the plasma field, you do even more damage. So in the new route, that's the exact same. With the new route, once you get hookshot, you would with teleporter storage, you would teleport right out of here. You would go do the Class C Guardians, I think it is, where the three smaller ones is. You would go to that section and turn on the power at this rate, at this point in the game. If you want to do this the safe way, and if you're not really comfortable with mechanics yet, you can just sort of hookshot here across here normally, like you would do in a casual playthrough. But if you're more comfortable and you want to go for harder strats with the old route, you can instead do Super Mario Kart here. So dash, jump, dash and double jump, and then hookshot on that last pillar that you see, and then dash to the end. So, like so. It is fairly tight to do that because you have like just enough height or just enough horizontal movement with the dash to make it over there. So if you're doing the new route, instead of getting the hookshot right there, you would come here originally. And everything that I sort of explained from here on out sort of applies to both routes. I'll point out any differences that might come out along the way. There's a very conveniently placed health station here if you're not feeling comfortable and you're low on health. But otherwise, you can just double dash up there. As a general rule, save points aren't really out of your way for the most part. So if you're starting out, don't feel bad about getting save points at all, because there is no save screen here in this game. You can just use saves whenever you want and refill your health. That's really what they're for. Because deaths actually cause quite a time loss, taking into account how short the run is. So refilling your health is the main point of save station in this game. Me personally, I sort of tend to avoid a lot of them just for that tiny bit of optimization, because they are a little bit out of your way. Like that, for instance, it's sort of spaced out really weirdly. How it's not like currently in your dash, like at the position where dashes end. So we'll have to like go run back to it. So it's like a tiny time loss to get them. So if you're starting out, just don't feel bad about getting them whatsoever. Here you just want to pay this room just a tiny visit just so that you get this teleporter that's active here. So all you really need to do is sort of get in the moment the loading screen finishes and then walk out immediately. The movement in this room coming up here is actually fairly tricky, especially because you have to go through it twice, and with the second visit, the power in the station will be on at that point, so there's going to be like a lot more stuff moving around. So if it weren't for the new route with the teleporter storage, this would be the hardest room in the game, and for the longest time it was. And for that reason I called it the fun room. The first time around isn't too bad, it just relies on getting your Super Mario Karts down, so you want to get the dashes and the jumps timings down. But other than that, it's not too bad. Optimally, you can avoid that first hit that you took. The second one is a pretty... If your timing is good and you time your shots properly, you can avoid that one too, but if you don't, then I normally damage boost that anyway. But that first one, that was just me being bad. And this is the reason why you come here the first time around, to get your teleporter card. And this movement here is a little wonky. I see people doing it sort of a slow way a lot of the time. So all that you need to do here is you store a dash through there, and you would dash upwards immediately. Like you make a slow jump, and again, very tiny jump, and you dash almost immediately after you jump. You cannot make it with just a straight dash, and you don't need to do a full jump. So almost simultaneous, just do that, and then for this one you can just do a straight dash without a jump, just to optimize it a little bit more. And this screen right here is the first instance of your dash resetting in screen transitions. It's a little wonky with what screens it sort of resets on, but when it's just a screen transition like this where there's no loading screen in between, it tends to always reset. When there's the loading screen in between, it's a little weird. Like sometimes it won't reset when you go through the first time, but when you go back down it resets. But in screens like this, it'll come in handy for the plasma field as well. So what you can do here is just dash upwards straight, twice. And then double jump on top of this blue block. And again, same reason as before, you go into that room very quickly like that just to activate the teleporter that's up there. This room is one of the is where the differences start to come up for the new route and the old route. So if you're doing the old route, all you have to do here is when you're falling, just hook shot here and you get through really easily. But with the new route, you wouldn't have hook shot here. So you need to do the dashes and the jumps again. So Mario Kart's up here as well. So you want to dash right off the corner of this. Jump and then dash upwards like that. Like so. And for this next drum with the sandworm, again with the old route, it's faster actually. If you do have the hook shot, you can just hook shot across the ceiling there very easily, it's no problem. But the sandworm that's at the bottom there, he's a little random with the way he moves. He, like, as a general rule, he will follow your character around. But he's sort of random with how he moves. And the other thing is, that we found out actually fairly recently, is you can actually just dash along the bottom of the sand here. So what you want to do is just immediately when you get into this room, like store a dash through here, and then just do a double dash and just immediately get going so you avoid the sandworm. That was a little bit more dicey than I would have liked just because I was low on health. You will almost always take at least one hit there. At least one. More often than that, not two. This save is my favorite save in the entire game because it's like perfectly placed in between your dashes. So it's a perfect save to get. This screen is another instance of your dash resetting. You can get it straight out of the water like that. It's a little bit faster, but if you're not comfortable with that, because it's a little finicky, if you mistime it a little bit, you won't get the reset. But you can just get it like this instead. Get the plasma field, which is just added damage, that's all it is. But it is very handy, and it's like right in your way. And this is where the first storage would be in the new route. Actually, just in general, if this is where the first storage is, so regardless of what route you would use, this is where you would get storage for the first time. So the way storage works. That's actually pretty funny that I got this. So, the way storage works is you have to always open your map first, or like once before you get it. Otherwise, this happens. So this is, I technically have the teleporter screen stored right now, but all the teleporter locations are just not on the screen. So you have to have opened your map at some point beforehand, and again, I haven't opened my map yet, so now you can see the teleporter locations. The inputs for teleporter storage is shoot, use, map. And you need to shoot and use the teleporter on the same frame, and then the frame after that you want to open your map. So it's a little finicky. And even like some of the top runners, well, most top runners don't really have it 100% consistent because it is like frame perfect with a couple inputs. So within a couple of tries, it's normal. So with this, you can just access any teleporter that you've already been without being at the teleporter. So if I were to use this right now, I would teleport here. Easy. Another important thing to remember with the storage is if you fail it like this, for instance, you need to close your map before you try again, because there's a very good chance that you will soft lock your game. So you need to make sure that you close the map every time. But this is the main new thing that was introduced into the route, so we want to sort of get good at this, regardless of what route you use, because it is used in both. Now, the ways that you can accidentally get rid of storage, which makes the new route harder, especially when you go back to scrapping unit, like I said earlier with the other screen. If you press your jump key when you don't have a double jump available, you'll get rid of storage like this. If I press it 3 times, it'll get rid of storage. One very, like, specific way that people a lot of the time don't realize how they lost storage is if you get hit and after that press jump, you'll probably lose storage. If you're in this state and you're not in, well, as a general rule, if you have storage, if you shoot, it'll get rid of storage. You can circumvent that if, oops. You can oops. That's also very common, by the way, when you're trying to get storage. If you're, get this screen, then that can happen. That's very common. That's why, as a general rule, I tend to try and move the cursor a little bit first. But yeah, with shooting, you can circumvent closing the map if you jump right beforehand. So like this. It's a fairly tight timing still. I'm not entirely certain how big it is. I feel like it might be a 2-frame window, so it might not be like a frame perfect thing, but it is still pretty tight. And the reason why you want auto jump on is because when you're in water and you have your jump key held down like this, you can shoot freely in water. It'll count as you pressing the jump key beforehand for free. So now that you have storage, and you do this in both routes, by the way. Or actually, yeah, you would do. Never mind. You would do it in both routes. Oops. Again, like I said beforehand, it's actually really simple to accidentally lose storage if you're not paying attention. So now that you have storage, you want to make your way around to the charge shot. And this is really the screen where the shot comes in handy, like this. You know, I can shoot freely. During loading screens, you need to also be careful not to press anything because you can get rid of storage in loading screens as well. But another thing is I wouldn't spam shoot because that will also get rid of storage. So you want to be very careful with where you place your shots. Especially in the screen after this one, where there's the tight corridor with the tentacles and the jellyfish, I would refrain from shooting in that section. Like this section right here. Oops. I would not shoot here just because it's very easy to get rid of storage. Yeah, if you're feeling comfortable enough with the storage route, or if you're comfortable enough to do storage, this in the new route where you don't have hookshot, this is where you would get hookshot. So I would go into this teleporter right here. If you're doing the old route and you do have hookshot, you go straight to Class C Guardians. So you go into this one right here. So the way you would do it, you would press shoot key to start the teleport, and you can get rid of the text right after that. So it would be shoot and then escape. However, if you don't want to do storage, and this is only for the old route, by the way, because you need hookshot for this. If you're doing the old route, you would instead go over here into where Serpent 5 is. Now, the trigger for where Serpent 5 spawns is the platforms, and then one tile above the platforms. well, basically it is one tile above the platform. So if you want to take it really slowly and easy, you can just simply swim underneath here. But with auto jump on, it's really not that hard to instead do this, because it gives you like a jump and a double jump for free. So when you get to this place, you want to do something called a hookshot jump, which the inputs for this are what I just did there. So it's, you press your double jump, and then a frame after that you want a hookshot, and that'll give you a lot more vertical speed. You can do it in the other order as well, where you do a dash and then do the hookshot jump. But there's more time before the reset, so if you need to do multiple tries to get it, it'll take you longer and it's slower. So I do recommend you doing it this way around, where you do the hookshot jump first and then press the charge, because you get faster resets. However, I do recommend that if you're at all comfortable with teleporter storage, you do the storage route where you don't have to worry about this at all. You won't ever come here normally anymore in the route. At this point, I'll go over and I'll show the newer route, where this is right after you get the charge shot in the new route. So if you're doing the old route and you already have hookshot, then you'll feel free to skip this little bit here. So right after charge shot, you would come back here and you would immediately get another storage. Now the difference here is you already have your charge shot, so what you want to do is, when you go for teleporter storage, you want to keep your shoot key held down, because you'll get one free charge shot this way, without like any extra inputs. And now this is part of where the difficulty comes in, because you have to do this entire section up to scrapping unit with the shoot key held down. If you do release it by accident for whatever reason, you can get it again with a jump like I explained earlier, but this is just the easiest way to do it. So after that, you just make your way to scrapping unit like normal. And this screen is the reason why this route is really hard. So what you want to do to begin with is you want to do the first dash and then release your shoot key with the free charge. So you shoot the first destructible blocks without any issue. And then after that, you want to be sort of careful with when you go through here with the falling debris, because like I said, when you get hit and you press jump afterwards, you can get rid of storage really easily. So you want to come up here, and again, like I said, this is very hard to do, so I lost storage there. But luckily enough, there's another teleporter very close by, so if you do lose storage and you want to do it again, there is a teleporter right here. But yeah, like I was saying, you need to, if you want to do this route, you need to get really comfortable with doing this. Getting shots in without losing storage. So you want to jump and then press your shoot key, and you want to hold it down for that free charge shot afterwards. And it is a fairly tight timing. You need to be good at this in order to do this new route. I normally wait for that first rock to go by. But that's basically how you would do it. And like I said earlier with the scrapping unit, the fight is the exact same. When the first fight begins, you can release the shot and dash through it, and you get the free charge shot damage in as well. And you do the same strat of where you stand in the corner and just keep dashing downwards. That is all the exact same. And then you would go through, you would get the hook shot, and with that text box still on screen, you would go over and teleport over to where the Class C Guardians are. So this teleporter. And this is again where the two routes converge, so everything's the exact same from here on out in both routes. You have all the same items and everything. If you don't want to do teleporter storage, which again I do recommend everybody do, you can do something else instead, which is called text storage. But the thing is, the inputs are basically the same. So instead of shoot, use, map, you want to use, for text storage, you want to use, map, shoot. So it's basically the exact same thing. It's just a little bit of a different order. You can get text storage off of basically any terminal in the game, or on the first frame of when a text box appears. So, for instance, the very first text box in the game where you first come off the spaceship, you can get a text storage on that text box if you just open your map and then close it on the same frame that it appears. People do go for it every run, but because you don't really have any sort of a reference point for when to get it, it's not consistent at all, so it's not like a reset thing at all. And the first storage anyway, it saves like around a second. I think it's a little less than a second that it saves. But with text storage, the terminal that's in the boss room that turns on the power, if you do text storage instead, you want to do text storage on that terminal. And another thing why I honestly feel like you should just do teleporter storage instead is with text storage you only get one try at it and you're done, because if you turn on the terminal, it's over. You need to fight the boss. And obviously that's really slow. So instead I'm gonna get teleporter storage again here and proceed over to where the boss room is. So if you were to go for text storage, this is the terminal that you would do it on. But with teleporter storage, you want to come over here so that you're stuck in a corner. And you want to move your cursor around to this spot right here. So right where that sort of column in the background is, and where it ends, you want to go right here. And after that, you want to move it over to the right spot. You have a little room for correction if you do overshoot it, if you mistime your movement a little bit. But again, what you want to do is you want to shoot and then use the terminal afterwards, like this. The timing's fairly lenient, so don't really worry about that. The main thing is that you press shoot first, so that you start the teleporter fade in first. And after this, you start the security overmind segment. And yeah, so the thing, by the way, text storage is what happens. Like, this is text storage. It's just a byproduct of using the terminal after teleporter storage. So this is one way to get text storage. And one of the side effects for tech storage is a lot of things just in the game don't move for whatever reason. And the spores of these mushrooms is one of those things, for example. It's not that the spores don't spawn, it's just that they stack right where they come out. So if I were to get rid of storage here, it would just shoot out a bunch of stacked spores at once. So with storage, you would come over here. And because this is the text storage, the text boxes that turn on the power in the power station, if you were to skip these text boxes, these doors right here, they would be closed. So you want to come over here first, and then when you press shoot and get rid of the storage, the doors close automatically. This guy is, again, a little wonky with how you deal with him. Again, the main thing is you want to dash through him a couple of times and get some charge shots in when you can. So right now all we're doing is just turning on all the terminals for the security overmind. I actually didn't know that he could get up on that platform. That sort of scared me for a second. But yeah, if you're low on health, which is 4 or less, I think, is what damage he does, you can take that a little slow and wait for the screen to load and then dash and hold down jump so you get like the free jump around. For this screen, at whatever point you feel comfortable, you want to shoot once and then hold it down to get your charge shot up, because again, you keep your charge shot charged through loading screens. And just hold it for a little longer so you don't release it immediately, so that you can break that wall immediately. Or as soon as possible, rather. For this screen, with auto jump on, you can do some fancy footwork on the electrified water. If you don't feel like doing that, you can just use the platforms instead, but what I do nowadays with jump hold on, it's not sink to the bottom like that, but just sort of hop and skip on top for a little bit. But yeah, don't sink to the bottom of the water at first like I did. You don't want to take that damage, because that room does do damage to you fairly easily if you're not careful. But thankfully there's save points really in a lot of places. But yeah, this is the second visit to this room, and like I was saying earlier, this is very sort of difficult to do fast and without taking damage. So I'm just gonna try and show how it goes really fast. Killing that guy isn't really necessary. I know a lot of people, when they do regular aim %, they just ignore that dude and goes like hookshot above him and then just go straight to the terminal. However, in challenge mode, I feel like he's much big of a pain in the ass for, I mean, to start off, he does more damage to you. But secondly, you have the plasma field here. And you just have the charge shot and you have everything. And it's a lot easier to just, it's very fast for him to die, basically. So, me personally, I always kill him when I get through here. And again, if you're low on health here, the save point is right across the way, so don't feel bad about using that. But if you're good on health, you can just go straight down here. And if you do that fast, you can just dash straight across all of those, like I just did. But, you might have to take it a little slower if you're not as fast. The dashes do give you invulnerability frames, so if you ever find yourself caught underneath them when you're coming down, you can just dash upwards, for instance, to avoid damage at all. Completely. If you're low on health here and don't feel comfortable with the security over mind boss fight, there's a health station right here. It's like not really out of your way. It's like a second or two if you want to use it. But more importantly, if you feel comfortable with text storage, you can get text storage again here. But if you're not comfortable, it takes you a while to get it normally, then don't even bother, because all that this text storage skips is the little climb back up the stairs when you finish the boss fight. So if you can't get storage fast, then don't even bother, because it's only like a couple seconds that it saves. The trigger to make him start jumping is you jumping, so you want to make sure that you sort of time your jumps well enough. Sometimes you can get sort of double stomps where you get the sort of plasma things. You get a double of those, but nobody really knows how it works. It's just sort of random. But yeah, the rest of this fight is just really self-explanatory. Just dodge things and then wait for him to kill himself. However, for this part, you can get him in one cycle like that, so you don't have to wait for the ball to go around the entire room a lot of times. And the way you do that really easily is you dash first and then double jump after that. And after the boss fight, when you want to do the teleport, you want to wait long enough so that you have control of your character again. If you do it too fast, then again you might have a chance of soft locking. So right here, I'm gonna move to the teleporter and then sort of spam my dash key. And the moment that I hear sound is when I teleport, because that means I have access to my character again. And after this, all that's left is virus. So you just want to come up here and go over to that boss. This is a nice little clip here. All you need to do is hook shot at the wall when you're standing on the platforms and you'll clip through. And again, at some point here, you just want to shoot and hold down your shoot key, because it holds the charge through this. For this first phase, there's a couple different possibilities when he starts to dash, depending on when you time your dash through him. If you time it like frame perfectly, he'll stay in one place and not move at all during the entire fight. But it's not very consistent, so don't worry about that. But also, depending on when you time your dash, he might slow down, or he'll even like moonwalk the other way. So just be mindful of when you time your dash, so that you don't, for instance, do it too early and he just moonwalks into you immediately. So normally what I do is I just I do 2 charge shots and then wait just a little second. And for this phase, optimally you want to stand like 3 pixels away from him, just to make it a little bit more consistent with the orbs not hitting you, but it's not like that precise. But I feel like the 3 pixels is like the sweet spot where you like never get hit at all. And one rule of thumb, again, when you use charge shots and regular shots, is if you need to do 3 or less shots, then you can just spam your shot key. Otherwise, you just do charge shots instead. And you want to be careful with where you take damage, because you really want a minimum of 7 health going into this last phase, because you're gonna do some damage abuses to kill him faster than you should. And then another thing that you want to take into consideration for this last phase is there's the 2 hands on opposite sides of the room. You want to kill the one that's on the left first, because there's a thing called fast hands here, which is the time it takes for the hands to activate with their attacks. And it's a little dependent on when you kill one of the hands. So if, for instance, if I were to kill the left hand while it's attacking, and the right hand is not doing anything, it's just in its place waiting. When you kill the other hand, there's a chance that the hands will activate immediately afterwards and start another round of attacks. It applies to both hands, of course, but it's way more consistent with if you kill the left hand first. So you avoid a lot more fast hands that way. And again, utilize the plasma field and the charges, the dashes as much as possible. I shouldn't do this while talking. But basically what you want to do is you want to charge shot him, charge shot him again and dash up, and then charge shot him one last time when you're falling down. But the virus fight it's where really everybody gets stuck the first time when they're doing this. Because it is a very hard thing to do, especially if you want to do it fast. But even in casual playthroughs, a lot of people get stuck here there for a while. But I'll try just doing this entire fight fast now and just show you how it's generally done. Like right there, for instance, I charged at or dashed at the right time, so it went a lot slower than you normally would. Sometimes you can skip the ring phase completely. It's not entirely sure why that happens, but it can happen. That was my own misjudgment. I was too cocky there. I mean, you could see it was 1 health, so if I just went over there and did the normal strat, he would have died from the plasma field. But yeah, this is what I get for doing this live with no pre-planning whatsoever. This is what happens with live tutorials. But I mean, you get the basic gist there. You can do it in 3 cycles if you play it safe. You can also 2 cycle the last phase, but it's very hard to do. And honestly, I don't have it consistent whatsoever at all. So I don't even try for the 2 cycle myself. You'll have to get Magalore to tutor you if you want to do the 2 cycle. I might get fast hands here now. Yeah, like that is exactly what happens if you mistime your shots. Yeah. So that's how that fight is supposed to go, and you can see the instance of fast hands as well. And timing ends when you skip this last text box here, so that would be time. And I think that's pretty much it for the tutorial. I think I covered most of everything. If I didn't, then feel free to ask me questions or send stuff my way. We also have our own Discord for speedrunning this game. Our community has our own Discord, so feel free to hop in there if you're interested. I'll probably put a link in the description somewhere for that. But yeah. In general, it's a fairly simple run to get into. It's a really fast-paced thing. So if anybody is interested, it's easy to pick up and it's really fun. I highly recommend you do it. And yeah, that's it for the tutorial, really. And you get to watch these awesome credits and awesome little ending cutscene. So yeah. Thank you for watching the tutorial, and hopefully this will get at least somebody interested in the game. Or if you were interested originally, I hope you start running it after this one. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on stream maybe. Peace.